Now that the Eric Morris era can officially begin in Stillwater, Oklahoma, let's take a peek back at the numbers throughout the course of the season to help make a determination that stats lives matter and some of these guys deserve opportunities to come back.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are we feeling, Big 12 brethren? Shout out to the regulators. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, at visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at All Day O State. Today, we're partially brought to you by Gametime. Make everything more important. Whenever you're getting tickets with Gametime, download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Meanwhile, we get to slide right into this conversation. Now that the season is over, we just recently kind of touched back on how it wasn't all bad and not all of it was lost. And a lot of guys stepped up, not only just players, but including some of the coaches. But it's always important to go back and look throughout the numbers and hopefully that can help make a determination for the new staff on whether some of these guys should return at Oklahoma State. Starting with the offensive quarterback play, Zane Flores had 159 completions, 166 attempts for 59.7% completion percentage, 1,490 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sam Jackson was able to chip in, and he was able to throw in another 351 yards at 53% completion for a touchdown as well. Haas Haney obviously started this season against UT Martin, began like gangbusters, but unfortunately we didn't get to see him much after that game because of the injury. Noah Walters got to complete some passes, probably should have seen a little bit more of him, but so did Shamar Rigby. Trent Howland got to complete some passes. Banks Bowen was able to get in and get some action. Gavin Freeman even lined up and had a fun little wrinkle in the backfield. It would have been nice if we could have utilized that a little bit more. Naturally, if you look at the rushing stats, Rodney Fields led Oklahoma State. He gained 639 yards. And again, he only played in a handful of games. He started, six games this season for Oklahoma State. The rest of the time, he was not exactly 100% ready to rock and roll, or he was limited on the carries that he could get because of injury. And then he kind of gave way for Trent Howland to have 279 yards. Sesi Valahi also had 155 yards. Caleb Hicks had a good fall, had a good spring, looked like he was going to be the guy to kind of carry the mental forward, especially while Rodney Fields was trying to get healed up. But for whatever reason, it just didn't quite come together for him. Behind him, Zane Flores is actually next in rushing. Zane was able to pick up 222 yards. Gavin Freeman picked up 53. Freddie Brock picked up 39. Banks Bowen, Haas Haney, Noah Walters, Royal Capel, they were all able to get in on the action. Even Jalen Lloyd, had a couple of instances this season where we got to see a little bit of him, probably not enough, which is precisely why, we're going over some of these numbers. Whenever you go over the receiving statistics, it's crazy not having, a 1,000-yard rusher, a 1,000-yard receiver, but our closest we have is Gavin Freeman. G. Freaky came over from OU to give us 481 yards. Next is Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis gave us 373. Shamar Rigby, 351. Rodney Fields Jr., the running back that, again, only got to play in a handful of games or start a handful of games. He was next with 276 yards. Then it was kind of a hodgepodge. Cam Abshire, Christian Fitzpatrick, Sam Jackson. They all, were in the 60, 70, 90, 100-yard range. I don't think we got to see enough of Royal Capel. It is kind of crazy to look back and see, what happened to DeJuan Lofton. That'll be interesting to find out, later as time goes on. You're going to see Josh Ford pop in here. That'll be an interesting name. Moving forward, is Oklahoma State going to be able to utilize the tight end game? Because you didn't see a ton of it out of North Texas. But defensively, massive shout out. We talked about him last episode. Parker Robertson led Oklahoma State this year with 77 tackles. Right next to him, appreciate you, Brian McCoy coming over from Akron, chipped in 73 tackles. Brandon Rawls right behind him, 67 tackles, and he missed a couple games as well. Mordecai McDaniel being next on this list. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see him the last few games, but that's partially because of his effort on film. he started pulling some of the Kendall Daniels stuff, and they started pulling him off the playing field. So it does make sense. Next, you had Cam Smith. Cam Smith probably didn't get talked about a bunch this year because of how bad we were. But you notice defenses didn't typically, try to pick on him or target him a crap ton. Landon Cleveland chipped in 33. So did Kenneth Harris Jr. Trip White had 33 tackles. Ike Esselmoon kind of quietly had 31. Raymond Gay the second with 30. Malik Charles, who kept battling injuries, had 28. Wendell Gregory at 27. Jacoby Oliphant had a really nice play against Iowa State, a sack in the backfield. He chipped in 24. Tajay McCoy, 21. Cale Smith, 20. Aiden Kelly, 17. Kyron Duhon, who kind of came on quite a bit late, he had 16. LaDainian Fields, another individual that didn't really get a lot of play into the last few games, he was still able to chip in 16 tackles. Lil Johnson, before going down, had 16. J.K. Johnson had 16. He should probably somebody that we talk about returning. If he has a medical year available, perhaps he would be a very good addition to the new coaching staff. Sitvini Hafili Kafusi, absolutely need to try to give him his flowers. 14 tackles. Amon Oates, 14. And then you've got some guys that kind of, transferred already. Eric Fletcher, he's not a transfer thus far. He had 11. Armstrong Odom with 11. Deshaun Brown right there. Landon Dean next up. Then it goes down to Michael Diot. Appreciate you coming over from Virginia. Big dog. Puasa Utu probably should get a luck to stay at Oklahoma State. Luke Webb was able to chip in 5 tackles while only playing the last, a couple ball games. Jadavian Bradley has a handful. Gunnar Wilson has a handful. Kobe Foreman had a couple. Rule Capel even had a couple. Aiden Davenport had a couple. Statistically speaking, there's a lot of things that you're going to look at, and you're going to realize that, there wasn't a ton to be excited about. But, when you chip over to, let's say, special teams, West Ball, it's not really a category you want to be one of the tops in the Big 12 in, but we punted a lot. So congratulations, West Ball. Averaged 46.5 yards per punt, which is really, really good. His longest was 64 yards. He punted for 2,975 yards. Oh, his long was 71, actually. So hats off. Congratulations to you, sir. Special teams wasn't supposed to be the calling card of the season, but for whatever reason, it happened that way. Got to give another shout out to a special teamer. Logan Ward led Oklahoma State with points this season. He scored 62 points. Number 2 and getting in the end zone was Gavin Freeman at 24. Trent Howland, number 3 at 18. Rodney Fields next at 12. Zane Flores, 12. Sesi Vailahe, 12. Then LaDainian Fields is next with 6. Then Josh Ford, Haas Haney, Sam Jackson, and Shamar Rigby to kind of round out the bunch there. Overall, yeah, it's going to get glossed over, right? That Oklahoma State had a down season, but I want to show that there is some appreciation still for some of these dudes. And as bad as the season was, hopefully those numbers were good enough to get some of these guys back. Do we want a ton back from this downtrodden season? Maybe not, right? But the idea that there's only a handful that are worthy of coming back, I think, is absolutely crazy. And by the way the season went, I don't think any of us could dive down that rabbit hole of actually legitimately saying only a handful of these guys are good enough to come back to Oklahoma State. Hopefully the new staff doesn't feel that way either. That's right. It is FanDuel time. The NBA is back, and there's not a better place for you to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score the next bucket to who's going to hit the game winner. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's the one making the late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet is a winner. So make sure that you head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now we get to move into some positive news. The Cowgirls were able to get a couple pretty impressive wins. Being out on the road, they had to find a way to come back, right? They head off to the Cayman Island Classic after experiencing their first loss of the season. But they were able to bounce back in a pretty good way against the Islanders. And then they barely beat Charlotte. And it kind of looked like, well, maybe we're not going to be all that great of a road team. We answered very successfully with a nice dub against Miami, 87-84. The Cowgirls came away in this one shooting 61% from the field. That'll get you a lot of W's, 50% from three-point range. Rebounding was almost dead even. Oklahoma State at 27, Miami at 26. Turnovers were dead even at 12. Steals were very, very comparable. So the fact that this was close is a little concerning because it took us 61% from the floor and 50% from three-point range to get this W. So congratulations for J.C. Hoyt and the girls finding ways to get road W's, to improve to 8-1, to stay inside the top 25. Miami had a good game plan. They obviously looked at what transpired in our loss against St. John's and found that there was some weaknesses and there were some ways that you can attack Oklahoma State, and they were pretty good at doing so. Thankfully, we did finally get to see Jaden Wooten go absolutely crazy. She's been more of a facilitator, been more of a driver, just been more of a cog in the machine than somebody that you could rely on when it came to scoring. But Jaden Wooten puts up 26 points. Amari Whiting also chipped in 23 to help the Cowgirls. Haley Timmer also chipped in 17 points. Cole Cott is kind of sticking with her way. She scored 16 points in the dub against Charlotte. She gets another 12 points here. She also decided to, chip in a handful of boards. So this is really nice to see the Cowgirls find a way to get dubs on the road, because that St. John's win really took Oklahoma State out of their game plan. Coming into that game, they were the best in the country shooting threes, and they'd even, broke the record for the most three-pointers made in the first 5 games of the season. And then we kind of hit a wall against St. John's. But, they did a pretty good job finding a way to get it done at the end. As it pertained to the Charlotte game, the Cowgirls shot 47% from the floor, 26 from 3. We talked about Cole getting 15 points. Lena Girardi had 15. Amari Whitey had 13. Micah Gray had 10. It was just kind of a little bit of everybody. Staley Hurd has not been the All-American level individual that she has been previously, even to some degree. Now there has Micah Gray, but they were the ones that had to do all of the scoring. So the fact that we now have Lena Girardi that can chip in, and Amari Whiting that can chip in, and Jane Wooten clearly has all of the intangibles to be somebody that can continuously get buckets, get fouls, get the other team in precarious situations. And we need to embrace that we've got girls that can do it from banging down low. We've got girls that can do it from three-point range. We've got people like Jaden who can drive into the lane and facilitate. We've got plenty of weapons to still make this a Big 12 title contending team. This Cowgirls ball club is good enough to win it. And thankfully, we get to go back to the friendly confines of Gallagher-Iba Arena in a couple days for our next game against, ironically enough, North Texas. So the Mean Green are going to look to have some semblance of revenge since we stole their football coach, and they feel some type of way about it. They also feel some type of way about Oklahoma State fans, which there's going to be outliers that say some crazy stuff here and there, but it's still, by and large, been nothing but positivity towards them. So hopefully the Cowgirls treat Denton, Texas like it's Gallagher-Iba, because we have to go down to their neck of the woods to take on the North Texas Lady Mean Green in Denton. There should be a lot of orange in the stands, especially with everything that's transpired recently. So hopefully that is the case. Cowboy basketball also has an opportunity here coming up here before too long. They get to take on Sam Houston here tomorrow. The Cowboys are undefeated, 7-0, And this is really a game that you need because the next opponent is a very, very good team that can sneak up and get you. Grand Canyon is not just a baseball school. They've been able to kind of do some stuff in basketball as well. And then we get to the nitty gritty, the Bedlam matchup that is of the dual variety. So we get men's Bedlam, we get women's Bedlam. I would imagine that both of us would probably be, not exactly the favorite, but this will be great because if you get this dub that sets you up for Bedlam, the possibilities are endless. And we're going to need those marquee kind of wins against other power conference foes. And the SEC with OU kind of gives us both of that. I think that the Cowgirls definitely good enough to win the daggone thing. The biggest surprise might be men's basketball because OU was just really good last year, and they're pretty good the year prior. So I don't know precisely what they're going to look like this season. They've got a couple losses, but one of those being to, I believe it was Creighton, or not Creighton, Gonzaga. There we go. So they have a respectable loss to Gonzaga, but I think J.C. Hoyt learned some things about her squad on the road. I think Steve Lutz already knows a decent amount about his ball club. We haven't really been tested outside of Stillwater a crap ton outside of the 2 exhibition games. So we've still got a lot to worry about. But much like Cowgirl basketball, the dudes have multiple bigs. Parsifala, who can do some stuff. Vukovic can provide minutes. Mantzoukas, he's more of an outside threat, but clearly he's big enough to bang down low and get you some serviceable minutes. Anthony Roy can score from anywhere. He can also get his own buckets when it need be. You have Victorious Miller, might have the biggest upside on the ball club. Ryan Crotty can still spot up and hit threes. Kanye Clary is a very good facilitator, but when you need somebody to drive to the bucket, go coast to coast, we got Jalen Curry for that. I'm very excited about Cowboy basketball. We're excited about the Eric Morse era of Cowboy football. And thankfully, we've still got Cowboy wrestling with David Taylor, man in the paint. But now it's not going to be easy winning the Big 12. Iowa State's going to have something to say about this. Game Time is here to help you. College football is still playoff ready, and that brings a lot of excitement. Hopefully the Big 12 has a lot of representation from the tailgates, rivalries, energy. You and I both know there's not a lot like it, but sometimes your team doesn't put up the same kind of battle that you get getting tickets. That's why Game Time slides in to seamlessly help you out without the hidden queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. Game Time is the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you're going to pay. The app makes it super simple. You can even see the exact view from your seat before you purchase. You're going to love the zone deals, too. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. So take the guesswork out of you buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That is promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. It's simple. You swipe, tap, ticket, and go to download Game Time tickets. All right, this one will be fairly brief. Wrestling just got turned upside down because Iowa State took down Iowa, the same Iowa club that beat our Cowboys at the national duels. It was very close, 18-16. A couple things could have went Oklahoma State's way, and it's a little bit of a different outcome. We've been, circling that one because it's the last duel of the season against Iowa as that retribution moment. But now, if you get past Iowa State, perhaps the retribution sorts itself out because the Cyclones just knocked off Iowa in the Cyhawk Classic. Definitely didn't see that coming. Obviously, you knew Iowa State was going to put up a good performance, but beating Iowa, that's an eye opener a little bit, right? For us, yes, we did beat Air Force and fairly handily, and then we turn around and we did beat Arizona State 25-11. But it's not the same. It's not the same as what Iowa State just did. So it's hard not to look at the roster that we have and make some comparisons. Landon Robideau continues to absolutely dominate. Alex Facundo was a winner at Arizona State. Cody Merrill got a dub. Sergio Vega got a dub. And returning back to his home state, LaDarian Lockett is continuing to be a leader in the clubhouse, especially when it comes to the young dudes. Connor Doucette picked up another dub. Zach Ryder picked up another dub. Troy Spratley won, but it was super close. Richie Figueroa goes back to where he won a national title and gets beat up on. Unfortunately, Richie Figueroa has just been an anomaly this season. We got to see Cutter Sheets get an opportunity at 149. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way. Same could be said for Cody Rutledge. The fact that we're experimenting with the rosters, though, I appreciate that, because when it comes down to Big 12 play, we're going to need everybody that we can at full tilt. So getting some of these younger guys some opportunities is very, very good. Maybe Richie Figueroa was given an opportunity to go back to his old stomping grounds where he won a national title to see if he could kind of wiggle himself back into the top of the heap. Unfortunately, it didn't exactly come to fruition. That's okay. The Cowboys get to head to the Cougar Clash and take a part of the tournament here in 5 days. And this was a late edition, so we'll kind of break some of that down as we move into the new month. Anywho, that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here in Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere, so happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, that's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast and people out there, you're everything that makes this work. Appreciate what you do. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. Alrighty, y'all. Later, taters.